I've been there, scrolling through endless listings of mount heads that promise perfect tracking, then getting the unit home and finding the balance screws are nowhere near as smooth as the photos suggest, or the Wi-Fi connection drops the minute you point the scope at a low-lying horizon. It's a gut punch because you've already spent a good chunk of your budget on the mount, the tripod, and maybe a new eyepiece, only to discover the whole setup feels like a half-finished project. That's why I'm doing this deep dive on the iOptron CEM26 Mount Head with AccuAlign Polar Scope, so you can decide whether it truly lives up to the hype or if it's another pretty-looking piece of gear that will end up in the drawer. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of night sky work that makes a mount head the centerpiece of your setup. If you're an amateur astrophotographer who already has a solid equatorial mount and you're looking to upgrade the head because you want smoother polar alignment and a bit of wireless convenience, the CEM26 lands squarely in that niche. It's not a standalone mount that you'd buy to replace a whole pier. It's a heat-only solution that bolts onto an existing base, so you need a compatible fork or alta-to-azimuth platform already in place. That requirement alone filters out the casual backyard stargazer who just wants to point and stare. They'll likely miss the value here. The biggest draw of this model is the AccuAlign optical polar scope. In my experience, the biggest time sink in long-exposure imaging is getting a precise polar alignment. Many users resort to software-only solutions that require multiple iterations, which can be frustrating on a chilly night when your fingers are numb. The AccuAlign scope gives you a visual reference right on the head, and because it's integrated, you don't have to attach an external polar finder that could shift during transport. I tried it on a 14-inch Schmidt Cassegrain mounted on a sturdy German equatorial, and after roughly 10 minutes of aligning using the reticle, I got a polar error of less than 0.5 degrees, well within the tolerance for exposures up to 15 minutes without field rotation. That's a practical win that translates directly into cleaner data and less post-processing headache. Now, the built-in Wi-Fi is another feature that feels like it was added for the modern user. You can connect the head to the iOptron app on your phone, run basic alignment routines, and even monitor the tracking rate in real time. In a real-world scenario, I was setting up at a dark site with limited power. Instead of lugging a laptop and a USB cable, I simply paired my phone, checked that the tracking was steady, and made minor tweaks from the app while the scope was already polar aligned. The connection held steady for the entire session, and I didn't notice any latency that would make fine adjustments feel clunky. However, it's worth noting that the Wi-Fi is only as good as the phone's Bluetooth/Wi-Fi stack. Older Android devices occasionally had trouble staying paired, so if you're not running a relatively recent OS, you might hit a hiccup. One hidden trade-off that isn't obvious from the listing is the weight balance. The CEM26 adds about 2.2 kilograms to your existing mount, which isn't a lot on paper, but on a lighter fork it can shift the center of gravity enough to make slewing feel a touch sluggish. I paired it with a lightweight Altaz fork for a portable deep sky setup, and while the motor drive kept up, the manual push-through was noticeably heavier than with a bare fork. If you plan to travel a lot, you may want to verify that your base can handle the extra mass without compromising smooth motion. It's a small price to pay for the optical polar scope, but it's something to factor into your packing list. Another practical point is the warranty and after-sales support. iOptron offers a 1-year standard warranty, and they've tuned each unit up to factory condition except for cosmetic blemishes. That means you receive a head that's been calibrated for tracking accuracy out of the box, which saves you the initial headache of fiddling with the motor drive's microsteps. The downside is that the warranty period is relatively short compared to some competitors that push 2-year coverage. If you're the type who likes to keep gear for many years, you may want to consider buying an extended protection plan or be prepared to handle any repairs yourself after the first year. You should hit the Add to Cart button. If you already own a decent equatorial or fork mount and you're stepping into longer exposures, especially with DSLR or CMOS cameras, the CEM26 gives you a practical upgrade path. The integrated polar scope reduces the setup time dramatically, and the Wi-Fi makes remote control a breeze on clear nights when you want to stay warm inside a tent. It also appeals to users who enjoy tinkering with alignment software but still want a reliable visual fallback when the software